years later to make sure that the story was told as close as to accurate as possible, because you're always going to take some kind of license. You have to for cinematic reasons, for logistical reasons. There's all kinds of reasons why directors, take a little poetic license with their work, unless you're doing a documentary. But this wasn't that. This was a story of a platoon of guys who went through one of the most horrific events in human history and came out of it the other side. And there was a lot of loss, a lot of anguish, but there was some, you could see why the bonds between men who have shared foxholes are so strong. Because once you've gone through that, and you can count on the guy beside you, you can count on him for anything. And it's part of the wind down period afterwards. You had, if you were from, let's say, my granddad's buddy was a guy by the name of Vic from Lake Superior, and they spent the war together. They both survived, and my grandfather was from Leamington, and Vic was from Lake Superior. So after they were done the war, they each got out of the service, and they each went back to where they came from. I don't know if they ever saw each other again, but I know they never forgot each other. That's just not possible. That bond is just too strong to break. And you can, once you watch stuff like this, you understand why.
In the last episode of Band of Brothers, they take they go to the town of Berchtesgaden, sorry,
right,
and then they take the Eagle's Nest.
Yes,
I was at the Eagle's Nest a few years ago. Did I ever tell you that?
You've told me a few things, right, but never on the air.
Right. Okay. So I had the opportunity to visit the Eagle's Nest, which is now, interestingly enough, it's a tourist place, but the views from here, it's some 8,000 feet up in the Alps, the Bavarian Alps, are spectacular. I mean, just incredible views, and what it's under private ownership, and what the owners have done is they've turned it into an outdoor cafe, an outdoor restaurant. So tourists go, and it's very difficult to get to. You can't just go by yourself. You have to take a bus. They have a regular bus service, a special bus service to the a landing, if you will, and then you have to take an elevator through the core of the mountain, the final, 800 or 900 feet, until then you get out in the building at the summit. The views are spectacular. As I said, people go, and it's a restaurant. So they order meals, they eat indoors, or if the weather's nice, they eat outdoors on tables that are set up with, umbrellas, and so it's a little surreal because the building itself, while this is the main thing that they do there, when you walk through the building and some of the hallways and that, they do have historical references, so they're not hiding what this was all about. And they have, when you take the bus, they have a tour guide on the bus who gives you a basic précis of National Socialism and the history of the region where a lot of the top Nazis had country homes, and the history of this place, the Eagle's Nest. Anyway, so if you watch Band of Brothers and you see them, that's the place. I was there. The big hall with the big fireplace, still there, which was a gift from Mussolini to Hitler, the mantle on that fireplace, and the hallway where they're sitting out sunning themselves looking out over the spaces and stuff like that. Anyway, I like to tell the story that I didn't go for any other reason than that I felt that it was important that since I was there, I felt it was important that I pee in Hitler's toilet. And so I did.
Yeah, somehow that seems like just desserts.
I don't know, but that's what I did.
That's funny.
It's a lovely. I have to tell you, it's lovely country, lovely area. I've been to Germany a few times now. It's hard sometimes. When I'm there, I do think sometimes it's really hard for me to make the connection between Germany today and what it was, 75 years ago, 80 years ago.
Well, that's a good thing.
And it is, of course, it's a good thing. But it is a little odd. I know people who will not go to Germany because of its past history with Jews. But I'm not one of those people. And I've had business in Germany and in Austria as well. And it's very nice country, beautiful. The people are very decent people, and they're not unaware of the past. They don't hide it, and they don't celebrate it, but they're not unaware of it. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. So getting back to these films, Band of Brothers. I don't know if you had a chance to see, not related to D-Day, but the related to Band of Brothers, and that was The Pacific.
I saw some of it. I don't know if I ever watched the whole thing because it was a completely different feel to it. Like it was different setting. Yes, that's true. I wasn't as familiar with the units involved in that. I don't know the Pacific campaign as well as I knew what took place
right
on this side of the globe. But I haven't seen it. I have seen some of it, yes.
Right. And my understanding is that the same group now has come together, and they are starting to shoot now a new film, a new series focused on the air war over Europe during the Second World War.
I don't think people understand how close the Allies came to losing that air war. The casualty rates amongst the Americans during the daylight bombing campaign was staggering. I mean, they were just, because every time a B-17 went down, it was, 7 or 8 guys, maybe 9, would die, all at once, just boom, gone. The same thing as when you lost any bomber with multiple people on board. It wasn't like losing a fighter where you lost the plane and the pilot. In this case, you lost the pilot, the navigator, the radio operator, the flight engineer, the gunners, the co-pilot, the bombardier.
Right.
The whole crew was gone.
Right.
And the Germans, especially once the FW-190 came along and the Swallow, the Me-262, had that been employed for what it was, instead of some kind of revenge weapon that Hitler wanted it for, they probably would have at least made the Allies reconsider what they were doing and change tactics, because they couldn't carry on with the kind of casualty rate they had.
Right. And one wonders whether or not they're the same crew, the same group, before time runs out, whether or not they would consider doing something similar commemorating the Battle of the Atlantic.
Well, the closest they've come so far is a movie with Tom Hanks in it called Greyhound, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Now, they do give a nod to the RCN. They have a Corvette with them in this movie, and it's called, the code name for it is Dickie. Oh, what a stupid name, but hey, listen. And they show this, they did a lot of work with HMC at Sackville. They don't call it Sackville in the movie, but they've CG her into the scene, and she's part of an attack on the submarine in question and all that sort of thing. But it's definitely an American movie.
Right.
I would like to see, because now Canadian movies are getting much, much better. Look at Hyena Road as an example. And I see something done of that caliber on the Battle of the Atlantic, because there are no places to go to mark battlefields. There are no monuments you can put up except on the shorelines. So the battlefield stands naked because everything that was fought over and all the ships that were destroyed and men's lives lost are all at the bottom. And you can't do anything about that. So I would like to see some kind of visual thing done with a movie. There's an old one made during the war called K255 with Randolph Scott in it and Robert Mitchum, although they don't credit Robert Mitchum. It's a Canadian, made by the Canadian government or the British government, about the war at sea. And they do a fantastic job on that one.
Right. Well, I'm thinking that a series similar to the Pacific or Band of Brothers that, follows a let's say a ship that is in service for the entire entire war. So I don't know. It would be very interesting. I don't know if anyone's ever is planning on doing it, but that would be an interesting project. To be sure,
it would be, and I'd be all over it. I'd support that any way I could.
Anyway, Nick, it's coming to the top of the hour, so I guess it's about time that we start to wrap things up here, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for listening to the show or tuning in. As always, we appreciate it. If you're listening to the podcast, please share with your friends, family on social media. We would be grateful if you would let people know that we're here. And in the meantime, thanks very much for listening. God bless. And Nick, turn it over to you.
All right. With that said, we'll wish you all adieu, and we'll see you again next week. In the meantime, ubiqueritas et amor, Deus ibi est. Good evening, God bless. Don't let anything disturb your peace, and may you have a fair wind and a following sea.